When one being holds all the gems of existence and snaps his fingers, half the universe vanishes. And with that one, single, absolutely terrifying thought, a story was born that would, well, it would echo for decades to come.
So today we're going to break down one of the most famous stories in modern pop culture, the Infinity Gauntlet. Let's really get into it.
I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? How on earth does a 6-issue comic book from way back in the 90s become this legend? Well, the answer is a lot cooler and, a lot more complicated than you might think.
See, it's not just about a cool plot or a really memorable bad guy. The real lasting power of a story like this, it comes from a bunch of different things all hitting at the exact same time. It's never just one thing.
A better way to think about it is like a living collaboration, kind of like a perfect storm, where all these different forces come together at just the right moment to create something huge. And in this explainer, we're going to unpack the 3 big parts of that collaboration. First, the world it was born into. Second, the creators who actually built it. And finally, and this is the most important one, the reader. Yep, that's you, who gives the story its real power. All right, so first, let's set the stage. We got to go back in time to the exact moment this story first hit the shelves.
The year is 1991. Now, the Infinity Gauntlet didn't just appear out of nowhere. No way! It was really the climax of years and years of cosmic storytelling, all built around this one guy, the Mad Titan, Thanos, and his crazy obsession with the Infinity Gems.
And you have to understand the vibe back then. The comic book audience in 91, they were hungry for exactly this. They wanted huge, universe-shattering event stories. But it's more than that. Think about the real world in 1991. The Cold War was over. Everything felt uncertain. People were fascinated by these big questions of absolute power, and that made them the perfect audience for a story of this scale.
And this is why it landed so hard. The story was working on 2 levels at once. On one hand, you've got this grand epic scale. I mean, the entire universe is on the line. But at the same time, it's digging into this deep moral scale, asking these huge questions about good, evil, and what it means to have a choice. Okay, so let's move on to our second pillar, the creators. The architects who actually put all of this down on the page. And what a team it was. You had writer Jim Starlin, who'd been building the character of Thanos for years, bringing all that philosophical weight and, that moral gray area. And then you had the artists, George Perez and Ron Lim, who just delivered pure spectacle. Their artwork made this massive cosmic drama feel incredibly epic, but also really personal. So here's the key takeaway. They took this almost mythic struggle, this fight for ultimate power, and they grounded it with real, raw emotional weight. This wasn't just heroes punching a villain. No, this was about Thanos' bizarre and twisted obsession with winning the affection of death herself, and the hero's totally desperate, seemingly hopeless fight against a literal god. Which, of course, brings us to the last, and I would argue the most critical piece of this whole puzzle, because this collaboration is totally incomplete without the reader. Because a story like this, it doesn't just live in the ink and on the paper. It really comes alive inside your head when you read it. And that is where the real magic happens.
The comic basically looks you right in the eye and asks some heavy-duty questions. It puts that gauntlet in your hand and asks the first, most dangerous question of all. If you could do anything, what would you do?
And then it just keeps pushing you, taking you to some really dark places. I mean, once you realize that life is so fragile that it can be wiped out with just a thought, what does it even mean anymore? What is it actually worth?
And finally, it hits you with the ultimate question. What does it even mean to be a hero when you're not just up against bad odds, but you're facing someone who literally controls reality itself? What's the point of sacrifice when your enemy can just blink and remake the universe? What's the point of fighting infinity?
And that right there shows you the reader's real job. You're not just a spectator, you're a co-creator of the meaning. All that cosmic chaos on the page, it becomes a mirror, forcing you to think about your own ideas of power, of responsibility, and what you actually care about.
So, when you put all 3 of those pieces together, the world it was born into, the creators who shaped it, and you, the reader who brings it to life, you start to get why this story has stuck around for so long. The Infinity Gauntlet does so much more than just entertain us. It challenges us. It became this cultural landmark that shaped everything that came after it, especially in the movies. It's like this shared story that we all use to talk about what it means to have terrifying power and the responsibility that has to come with it. At the end of the day,
The entire story boils down to this one simple shift. The power to change reality is right there. So the question isn't, can he do it? We know the answer to that from page 1. The entire story is about the much bigger question, should he?
And that leaves us with the only question that really matters. It's the one this story has been asking all of us, from 1991 all the way to right now. So forget Thanos, forget the heroes. The power is yours. What would you do?